Rivalry, one of the most pervasive tropes in Shounen, to the point where you'd be hard-pressed to find a battle Shounen anime without one or even multiple rival characters. The point of this video is to discuss rivals in general, what makes a good rival, and explain why Black Clover's Yuno is the most effective rival in any Shounen I've ever seen. It would be good to define the term rival before we get started, so I'm going to turn to the most trustworthy source I know, Google. Google tells us that a rival is a person or thing competing with another for the same objective or for superiority in the same field of activity. I like this definition, so I'm going to use it. To be real rivals, two characters have to be aiming for the same objective or to become the best in the same field. This definition disqualifies several characters commonly perceived as rivals in shonen battle anime. Take Grimmjow, for example. Should he really be considered a rival to Ichigo when they're just fighting on opposite sides of a war? The argument could be made that they're competing to be the strongest between them, but that's pretty flimsy. In that case, any two characters that fight each other could be rivals. No, Ichigo and Grimmjow are just enemies. Despite their repeated interactions and chemistry, they're fighting for different goals. Ichigo wants to save Orihime, and Grimmjow wants to be the king. Yeah, Grimmjow is kind of weird. Moving on, and this might sound weird at first, but even Sasuke loses the right to be called a rival after Naruto Part 1. At the beginning, sure, Naruto and Sasuke are competing to be the stronger ninja. But Sasuke's goals shift several times as the story progresses. You look away for a minute, and he suddenly changes his entire life perspective. I'm gonna kill Itachi. Now Danzo. I'll destroy the leaf. I'll save the leaf. I'm gonna be the Hokage. Wait, what? Yeah, that's where I did a double take, but no, it was just a lame bait on Kishimoto's part. And the next second, Sasuke wants to kill all the Kage. So, is he still Naruto's rival when we go into the final battle? Yeah. As if. Are they competing for the right to slaughter Mei freaking Terumi? Sorry, but no. So, simply applying a strict definition of the word rival lets us cut out many of the distractions along the path to finding the very best one. Of course, I've already said where I think that path leads, but feel free to disagree if you like being wrong. Now, onto the second criterion a good rival should satisfy. That is, having a real shot at coming out on top over the main character. Ideally, they should actually have a bit of an advantage, because the whole evenly matched cliche is really overdone nowadays. This way, there is real drama and, if the story is well written, even doubt as to whether the main character will overcome their rival and get what they want by the end of the story. To be victorious, the protagonist must either surpass their limits or come up with a clever strategy. But a lot of the time, this is the opposite of what we get. Even though rival characters may be stronger at the start of many shonens, they are often surpassed and tossed aside like yesterday's trash, at least on the power scale, destroying any potential for an epic final showdown. Take My Hero Academia. Deku and Bakugo are both heroes in training who want the top spot, but in their most recent fight in the anime, Bakugo could only barely beat Deku at 8%. It almost doesn't need to be said that it won't be a fair fight by the end of the story, unless Bakugo starts taking quirk-enhancing drugs. Though their relationship can still develop, from where I'm sitting, their rivalry is on life support. The same type of power creep also happens in Dragon Ball. Over the course of the series, Goku's rival has changed from Tien to Piccolo, to finally Vegeta, who has held the spot for quite a while, but now, even Vegeta might end up set aside in favor of Jiren. And hey, Jiren satisfies both of your criteria, you might say. But a rival is not nearly as effective if they're introduced so late in the story. Hype generates slowly over time, and no one is going to be all that excited if Goku and Jiren fight again so soon after their first bout. A gripping rivalry needs lots of time for both rivals to grow, and that's why the trope works so well in long-running shonens. But as you can see, rarely is it used to its full potential. This brings me to Yuno, Black Clover's golden boy, and rival of the protagonist, Asta. He meets my first criterion with the greatest of ease, as expected of a prodigy. Yuno fanboying aside, at the end of the very first chapter and episode, Asta and Yuno make a promise to each do their best to become the Wizard King, and this remains their main goal throughout the rest of the story, but you can be sure that they will be competing for the same crown in the end. And let's just pretend Leopold doesn't exist for now. Where Yuno really shines is being a convincingly strong rival. While rivals are often more powerful than their respective protagonist early on, Rarely do they steal the show as much as Yuno does. Despite Asta being the one wielding unique anti-magic swords, Yuno still often manages to shine brighter, and rockets ahead every time Asta thinks he's caught up. Yuno is nearly perfect, and honestly not that far from fitting the model of an overpowered Gary Stu, but it works in Black Clover. Even though his aloof demeanor and ludicrously fast improvement might otherwise make him an irritating character, we don't see him enough for it to ever get annoying, as Asta and the Black Bulls are always the main focus of the story. Unlike some anime where the rival is seemingly always around the corner, Yuno puts in an appearance only every other arc at the most. This makes it even more exciting whenever Yuno shoots onto the scene and shows us how much he's grown. Seeing his ridiculous power only increases our excitement because we know that Asta will stop at nothing to match him. Every bound forward Yuno takes is a direct challenge to Asta. And as we all know, Asta never backs down or gives up. This dynamic is shown effectively through their interaction in this story, manga or anime. But the anime adds in yet another reinforcing layer through the score. Asta does have an official theme song, but you won't hear it that often. It's playing right now. The song is catchy and fitting for dorksta, but plays less and less often as the anime continues. In other words, there is no definitive song that appears whenever Asta has one of his big moments. That may seem odd at first because he's the main character, but it makes sense in the story because Asta is just one of the many extraordinary magic knights that make up the Black Bulls. Yuno, on the other hand? Well, Yuno has this. This track, called Spirit Pledge Yuno, is a remix of Yuno's original theme, and after a certain point in the anime, shows up almost every time he has an epic moment. Listening to his theme and watching one of his scenes, an uninformed viewer would be well within his rights to think that this guy was the main character. By giving Yuno far and away the most bombastic and heroic song in the OST, the anime makes the gap between Yuno and Asta that much more apparent, and excites us to find out just how Asta will manage to catch up to his sworn rival. As icing on the cake, check out this scene where Asta and Yuno swoop in to save their hometown from an attack.
Asta, Yuno.
You hear what's playing there? For their dramatic homecoming? That's right, it's Yuno's theme. It's as if Asta is the side character here, not the star. That's what a rival should be. Someone impressive enough that they can steal the show, even from the main character. Someone that will pull away for good if the protagonist ever hesitates. And if a shonen properly creates a rival this way, the payoff is hugely satisfying. Simply the fact that Prodigy Yuno acknowledges the magicless Asta as his one and only rival tells us so much about both characters, and it just wouldn't work if their rivalry wasn't credible. So there you go. Black Clover is genius, and no one can tell me otherwise. And if you do, without having even read the manga or watched the anime, I might get just a bit mad. Either way, that's it. Thanks for watching, and go read Black Clover if you haven't already.